I'm gonna make proposal to YouTube comments. So because there's going to be international challenge in Series 5, would you guys like to me to talk about Series 5 teams or the Series 5 team in next week? So yeah, just tell me in the comments if you would like to see that. I make these presentations in advance, so I still got some Series 5 team presentations I haven't talked about yet. But without any further ado, I'm gonna start talking about today's Metagame Monday, and that's going to be about Gothitelle Durant. Now, Gothitelle Durant is not one of the most popular teams out there, but it's still extremely threatening and quite hard to counteract, actually. This is most likely what the Durant team most of the time looks like. The terrakion slot is very interchangeable, but you're mostly gonna see Primarina, Durant, Gothitelle on these teams. So let's start talking about that right now. So Gothitelle, why Gothitelle? So Gothitelle, as you might know, because of the shadow attack ability, actually traps the opponent's Pokemon in and they cannot switch out. This means that, for example, with Durant, opponent cannot, for example, switch to Intimidate immediately to start weakening Durant. No. Not only the Intimidator in Arcanine is going to have to stay in, but for example, Durant will be able to one-shot it immediately with the Life Orb Max Quake. Since I'm doing pretty good, I'm just going to talk about Durant today, as you might have guessed. But why Colbert Berry on Gothitelle? Well, Gothitelle really doesn't like Urshifus, and Colbert Berry is by far the most used item on Gothitelle. You could theoretically run Mantle Hub, because a lot of people count on Gothitelle being Colbert Berry, so they might think that Taunt is pretty safe on that slot, but really, Colbert Berry is more overall useful because of the Urshifus being able to just one-shot you immediately. And even if Durant goes for like max spikes, the Wicked Blow is going to crit through that. So really, Colbert Berry is by far the most used and by far the most useful item. With the Helping Hand boost, the Durant and Primarina are able to one-shot things that are not normally available to them. Trick Room is to create these possible 50-50s turn 1. Another kind of part of the Durant's game plan is to try to dance around and about possibilities of leading either Gothitelle Durant or Gothitelle Primarina. Both of these leads require such a vastly different counteractions to the point it's almost uncounterable. And Trick Room makes this even more annoying because now you got Primarina and ferrothorn to deal with in Trick Room. So yeah, Trick Room is pretty much the most important move. I chose to run max defense because even though Urshifu's Wicked Blow is going to be neutral hit, it's still going to hit like a truck, so I really want to survive these hits as best as I can, so I chose to run max defense. And Psychic is literally for residual damage and for dealing with Amingus as well, because Amingus is an annoying Pokemon to deal with. Now, you have probably seen this Pokemon many times before, so yeah, Life Orb gives it 1.3 damage boost, Hustle gives it 1.5 extra damage boost as well, which pretty much gives it effectively turn 40 attack, which is extremely brutally high. And with a lot of speed that Durant has, it's just extremely threatening to deal with, and not too many Pokemon can actually just really switch into it. Hell, Big Book Targo, I'm doing pretty good, how about you? But the moveset Ironhead, Accessor are the stab attacks. Ironhead is going to be your bread and butter stab attack, but Accessor is mostly there to deal with the annoying water types. And like, unfortunately, Primarina kind of resists it, but you know you're going to be using this when you see Rotom, Mosh, or Melting. They're just going to drop to that. They're not very defensive Pokemon, and they just won't survive this. Stopping Tantrum is a primary way to boost not only special defense, but also deal with stuff like Drolodon and Arcanine. Or you could go for Rock Slide. With Max Rockfall, you're able to chaos. So my idea with Rock Slide was literally to counteract Talonflame a bit better, but unfortunately I feel they're going to mostly Dynamax. But Rock Slide is very important for at least one of my game plans I'm gonna go along with you in later Google Slides presentation I got prepared for you. So stay tuned in for that. Now, given that we gave Life Orb to Durant, the Primarina has to have a Soul Test item. It can't do much better. You could run like Mystic Water, but Assault Test gives it just such a more layer annoying bulk. To understand this, the special attacks are just going to be so useless against it. Max Lightning from Duraludon will do about 25% at best, and this gives it just such annoying nature to just deal with. It's just so annoying. Hydro Cannon is your pretty much attack in Dynamax. It's going to do a lot of damage. It's 450 base power attack in Dynamax. It's going to set up rain. It's going to be even more scary going through. Moonblast is secondary step to deal with dragon types like Dracozolt. Energy Ball is to deal with stuff like Gastron and other water types, and for example Primarina mirrors as well. Ice Beam. Ice Beam is my personal favorite, but again, you could run possibly Hyper Voice on this as well and be just fine as you can. Because really the Hyper Voice is just great spread attack. It's water type and it's going to deal with a lot of stuff. But I like Ice Beam a bit more because it allows Primarina to deal with stuff like Amoonguss a bit better. In Series 5 it dealt with Venusaur pretty well as well, but unfortunately fortunately Venusaur was banned from Series 6, so yeah, it's not going to be as useful. But really Amoonguss counteracting can be extremely important for this team, especially since it doesn't have that many super effective attacks against it. Now, Terrakion is not my own idea against this for this team. It has been actually inspired by a lovely person I'm going to mention later in this tutorial. But basically, the idea of Terrakion is that it's much faster than Urshifu, and it can just... The extra speed from Terrakion allows it to deal with stuff like, for example, Charizard, which normally for this team could be quite a pickle, especially if opponent got Sunny Day. The Primarina won't be able to deal with as well as it could be. Durant outspeeds it, but again, Charizard could do some weird stuff with Choice Scarf, which you do not want to partake in. So Terrakion is mostly much safer counteraction for Sun on this team, and it functions very similarly to Urshifu as well, so it's still going to do these powerful close combat, and it can Dynamax on its own as well to surprise some opponents. The Earthquake is probably the best coverage move it can have. If it would have Aerial Ace, I would probably pick it, but Aerial Ace is Gen 7 only move, so unfortunately it's not available to us. But Focus Sash, like on Urshifu, gives it extra survivability. It's just so annoying to deal with for some teams. Now for Ferrothorn, the set of Ferrothorn can be anything. Alright, I've seen a lot of Ferrothorns again on this team, and most of them just choose to have the leftovers Leech Seed, Body Press, Iron Defense, Protect set. That is just very annoying for a lot of teams to deal with, especially if you can deal with stuff like Talonflame on the lead, which is not a very difficult task. A lot of teams nowadays only have Talonflame as their only fire coverage, and then the Ferrothorn can have Field Day in late game. And you can trap Talonflame in, as Talonflame is very favorably leads against a lot of teams. The Talonflame, you might lure in Talonflame even with Durant, and if you can dispose it with Primarina plus Gothitelle, Ferrothorn can almost automatically win sometimes in a pack. Especially with this annoying Iron Defense Body Press stat, which just goes hand in hand with the defense boost and using the defense stat to attack the opponent. Other than that, this set is just, you stall out some stuff with Leech Seed plus Protect, you get leftovers for extra recovery. It really stacks up over these turns. Even though leftovers is not a very good item in VGC, on a Ferrothorn it really shows its worth. And now for Arcanine, a lot of these teams, it's like teams like Intimidate, right? And Arcanine, it has one of these, it has the quality of having Intimidate. Also, it deals with stuff like Ferrothorn and Durant on our own. After all, the Durant matchup is not as perfect as you might think, even though we got Durant of our own, so Arcanine allows us to just tackle that matchup with more confidence, so Arcanine is a very important member in this kind of category. Arcanine's set again, bread and butter, Snarl, Heatwave, Will-O-Wisp to try to annoy special attackers, try to annoy physical attackers, Heatwave to push through to Durant through Resurrection. And again, Safeguard or Protect are like, you can do whatever you want with these attacks, but I prefer Safeguard for additional protection against Amoonguss and other statuses. After all, a lot of members here can get burned as well, so I would like to prevent that as well as I can. The max speed is there to outspeed as many Arcanines as possible and possibly snarl them before they can do Heatwave against something like Ferrothorn. Yeah, it's just useful to run max speed Arcanine. So yeah, this is the analysis on the team. We are gonna go over some substitutes though for this team. Once upon a time, there was a last regional before COVID happened. I actually unfortunately forgot the name of the person. He's from like Ireland though, so I might put it in the video description though, because he's just a wonderful person. I know him personally, although I'm just keep forgetting the names. Anyways, the idea is that one of these, before COVID, there was a regional in Malmo, and Torracat plus Sylveon got top 4 on that team. Instead of Primarina, it used Sylveon with this exact set. They also use Tyranitar to self-proc weakness plus with quick attack, but Tyranitar is no longer in this metagame, unfortunately. But yeah, Sylveon is different from Primarina, that it can actually do fire damage, again, for additional counteraction. Matty Morgan, yes, Matty Morgan, thank you, Scene, thank you so much. So yeah, Matty Morgan, lovely person, he used this team to do very well. And it has different coverage moves, but it's just still different. Like, Hyper Voice is now fairy type attack, which can counteract different kind of stuff. Like, for example, Urshifu really fears it, and quick attack can finish off Urshifu's like no one else. So Sylveon is pretty unique, and if you want to experiment around with Primarina slot, you can definitely add Sylveon instead of it, as well as you can use Terrakion instead of the Arcanine if you just want to use Fake Out or Parting Shot. Durant is still very fun and very fine substitute for the Arcanine, really. And also, if you like kind of free your Focus Sash, if Durant could run Abillity, but I would mostly prefer to have Focus Sash. With Focus Sash, it also counteracts the Primarina, Durant a lot better, because suddenly the Max Quake doesn't just one-shot it straight up. With Parting Shot, it can actually switch out against the annoying Gothitelle plus Primarina combination, so it's kind of better against this mirror. It's going to give you definitely an advantage. Oh yeah, and it got Taunt, so that's pretty funny as well. Hello Oliver, how are you doing? I didn't see you on a stream for like 3 months now. Anyways, the Urshifu, again, pretty faithful substitute for the Terrakion. I prefer Terrakion because of the extra speed and Sun counteraction. But Wicked Blows, sometimes if you want to experiment around, the Wicked Blows, Close Combat, all the cover, and the Sucker Punch priority is just hard to say no to. So, and yeah, Focus Sash is pretty much mandatory on Urshifu right now. You could run Choice Band set as well, though. That's been quite popular lately. The Choice Band set, it has Poison Jab for last coverage move to deal with Primarinas. It's pretty efficient at that as well, because it's just so powerful. So yeah, Urshifu is pretty good counteraction substitute for the team as well. And you could, for example, give Turrican Focus Sash because the Urshifu no longer has the Urshifu slot, or Terrakion slot no longer has it. So that's a possible change as well. And last but not least, I've seen some people experimenting around with Talonflame. Because actually, I forgot to mention that. If you have noticed, our Primarina has some speed investment to outspeed possible Amoongus. So there are some Turbo Amoonguy around the metagame that just want to prey upon these non-max speed Primarinas. And fortunately for us, we got Max Starfall, which goes before the Amoongus Spore, 1 more speed before it, and we can prevent the spores this way. But with a lot of speed on Primarina as well, you can run something like Talonflame as well to just boost the speed of Primarina and have secondary mode for that. It's not far away from... It's just pretty nice to have as well, so do not fear to experiment around with other slots as well, like for example Talonflame. That's my advice. Alrighty, give me a second, I'm gonna just take my Pepsi here. And we're gonna go into the Google Slides presentation where I talk about the matchups. Alrighty, so yeah, detailed matchup guide for Durant. Hopefully I do not have as many typos as I would think I have there, and hopefully I do not have like typos in the matchup guides as well. So if you know what I mean by that. So yeah, the lovely person that inspired me to use Dragon or this kind of theme is Terona VGC. So feel free to follow him on the Twitter I mentioned here. Of course, it's going to be valid link in the YouTube video I'm going to post later as well. So yeah, just give him a follow. He's a wonderful person as well. Alrighty, so Standard Rain like other team. Senior, we're gonna get to that in a minute. I think it's for one game plan literally. Thunderfang could be good against Primarinas as well. Like, you could run Thunderfang, alright? But Rock Slide can be useful against some Sun teams and like secondary game plan against Sun teams, and it's definitely going to be useful against some Talonflames as well, although Talonflames are kind of like counteraction for Durant already, so yeah, you got a point kind of, yeah. Tornado is kind of a bad word in Italian? Wow, really? You choose a great name now then. Like, you're gonna have bad language in your Twitter handle, right? Oh well. Ah well. Anyways, we get straight back to the matchups, alright? So, the idea against Primarina is extremely simple. You're gonna lead with Gothitelle Primarina, you're gonna trap in the Kingdra in that, and you're gonna dispose of it with powerful max Starfall. The ferrothorn is going to be the problem in the late game because it most likely will go for iron defenses, but you can tear down the ferrothorn radar easily with the rain boosted hydro cannons, so it's not going to be that much of a problem, alright? So make sure you're gonna chip away the ferrothorn to the range for tracking to pick it up even if it gets like +6 defense. And yeah, our own ferrothorn is gonna have fantastic matchup against the backup as well most of the time. Really, the ferrothorn reigns supreme here. Unfortunately, we do not have power whip, but our resistances and leech seed are going to be mostly enough to just deal with a matchup in the late game. Oh yeah, and we got a surplus Primarina, so really Kingdra is going to do like, what, 15% to us with Life Orb Hurricane? Or Life Orb Max Airstream, so yeah, we really do not care about this as long as we chip away the ferrothorn enough, right? Pergons are good stuff. So if I remember correctly, I was looking at this guy right before I'm making this video. I look at this that actually helping it plus max steel spike in the Pergons that just straight up one-shots it. I was kind of confused, but I'm going to be believing past myself that I calculated this. So yeah, that's the game plan. If they just do not follow me, they're going to immediately faint to that. And if they're going to go for something like Max Strike into our Durant and then another Max Strike because they're going to outspeed us next turn, because of the -1 speed we're going to be getting, the terrakion in our back is going to be perfectly able to deal with the opponent's Pergon set in late game. So really, if you trade Clefairy for Durant and then we're going to trade like terrakion for their Pergon set, you should be able to win a late game with Gothitelle plus Primarina, especially if you set up a Trick Room and they go something like Dracovision or Urshifu in the back. Yeah, just you can imagine that Primarina should easily clean up the team, especially since even if opponent got Urshifu, you got Colbur Berry, so we're gonna take at least one wicked blow. So that's pretty important. Against Talonflame Pergon set, most of the time they're going to actually Dynamax Talonflame on the lead. They really have to, or else the Durant is going to just go for Fake Out plus Max Starfall. I mean, Rockfall, sorry. Rockfall to just straight up one-shot the Talonflame, prevent the Tailwind, and then the Durant just gets very ugly. So I would highly recommend going for Fake Out plus Rock Slide turn 1. Even if they Dynamax Talonflame, they did not choose wisely, and they're going to get punished for that immediately. Because they'll also have to go for Hyper Beam with Pergon set, which is suboptimal Chaos or Gothitelle. But at the same time, the Pergon set will have to recharge next turn. We're going to get free switch in the Dragon plus Primarina. We're going to have the Dynamax advantage, KO the Talonflame with our Rock Slide. And then we're going to Hydro Cannon to set up Rain, and the Primarina cleans up this game again extremely easily. So yeah, that's the game plan here. That should be the ball game as well. Oh well. Hyper Defense Lapras. Now, Hyper Defense Lapras has not been as popular as I thought in this metagame, but it's still, I've seen it quite some times as well. So I'm actually going to be editing this part of the presentation for next week. I'm going to be talking about Comfy instead, because I think it picked up some pretty good popularity. But for now, let's talk about this matchup. So you're going to pretty much pick your Poison Play turn 1. Either, like, you're going to lead against Talonflame Lapras, and you're going to Rock Slide and get the Talonflame guarantees turn 1. So either they get the... Actually, I've written ferrothorn wrongly here. It should be Durant. Oopsie. But either they go for the Taunt to stop the Trick Room on Gothitelle, and we get a Rock Slide off, and they do not get Tailwind, or they set up Tailwind and we set up Trick Room and we win anyways. So really, Taunt or Tailwind, they're just going to be having a pretty bad matchup, but the ferrothorn should be Durant. If they do not set up Tailwind, the Durant just walks over this team like no other Pokemon. So yeah, that's basically the game plan. I might fix that after the video is aired, unfortunately. But imagine that this is a Durant, alright? Now, Durant Gothitelle, it's a mirror, alright? So it's going to be quite painful to deal with, especially if opponent knows how to play the mirror as well. But hopefully you're going to get an opponent that doesn't know this team as much as, for example, you do after this guide. So turn 1, you should try to KO the Gothitelle immediately. Your Gothitelle can switch against the other Shadow Attacks because it got Shadow Attack on its own. So switch into Arcanine immediately. and try to intimidate the Durant, and try to kill the Gothitelle as well. If you kill the Gothitelle, it means the Arcanine can switch out next turn, again to set up more Intimidates for the late game. Also, with singular Intimidate, the Max Quake from your own Durant should kill their Arcanines as well. So, if you're feeling lucky and you suspect Gothitelle switching into Arcanine as well, you could go for Max Quake into that slot as well to immediately one-shot it. So, yeah, it's gonna be annoying for this because it's a mirror, but just position the Arcanine correctly, switch it in, switch it out, switch it in, switch it out, and try to be annoying as much as possible. Alrighty? Anyways, dual screens Duraludon. Alrighty, so that's another mostly good matchup. Where this is Arcanine Grimmsnarl, which is mostly the... thank you, Larabrook. It means a lot to me. Anyways, mostly what this team counts on is the fact that Grimmsnarl is going to set up Reflect to make Arcanine actually survive the Max Quake, unlike without Reflect, which it could not do. Fortunately for us, if they lead with this lead, we're going to be able to get a fake out on their Grimmsnarl, and their Arcanine most of the time has Safeguard like our does to combat Amoonguss a bit better. So you're going to get pretty much free one-shot on Arcanine, and then again, the game plan should fall apart for opponent pretty easily. You also got Primarina and ferrothorn in the Trick Room to deal with this. Yeah, it should be pretty safe. Also, if they actually carry the Protect Arcanine, which is extremely rare from what I've seen. You do not have Protect on Durant, but they're most likely going to go for Thunder Wave plus Heat Wave. So switching to something like Primarina should be pretty safe at that point. Yes, you're going to sacrifice your Dynamax, but it's just extremely safe to predict the Thunder Wave plus Heat Wave. So that's a bit of advice I can give you for that. These will beat up Shenanigans. That's, again, one of the more simpler matchups. Unfortunately, these teams tend to have Terrakion and Colossal on the same team to try to, again, create 50-50 leads. So you'll have to lead with Durant Primarina. If they just lead with Terrakion, you're just going to go for Max Steel Spike and just one-shot it. Pretty easy game plan. But if they leave the Colossal, you switch the Gothitelle turn 1 from the Durant slot, and you're gonna Dynamax Primarina. And remember, we gave Assault Vest to Primarina, which means it's going to survive these attacks extremely easily. So even if they go for +2 max overgrowth, I doubt it's going to be even closely going to be a 3-hit KO. You're just so specially bulky. Even if they switch to Gastrodon, you're going to be able to go for max overgrowth next turn. So like, and you're going to trap it in as well with Gothitelle. So yeah, it's just going to be pretty bad for the opponent. So basically, that's the game plan for this. Trick Room Weak Pokemon Primarina Azumarill. This has been, again, another more popular archetype at start of the metagame. Unfortunately, the problem has become that a lot of these teams tend to carry Dhelmise. Now, unfortunately, this guide did not cover that. But what I would imagine, like, actually Dhelmise completely balls out ferrothorn, unfortunately. So if you're gonna see that, if you see Dhelmise, I would probably recommend running something like a Durant in the late game instead, because it deals with the Dhelmise somewhat better than Terrakion does. So that's my advice. It's not gonna be a good matchup, unfortunately, but you can have all the matchups good. But if they do not have Dhelmise, like, most of the time these teams tend to leave it Amoonguss plus Dusclops, which you can easily go for back Starfall against to set up the Misted, right? Prevent the sleeps for Amoonguss, and you start going for Iron Defenses with Ferrothorn. At this point, you should be easily able to pull out a lot of stuff like Primarina, Azumarill, and even like something like Gigalith just doesn't enjoy this company of this Leech Seed Ferrothorn on the field with +2 defense, body presses. So yeah, another advice is to just go for Leech Seeds on the Dusclops immediately when you can, to just start possibly forcing it away from the battlefield so it cannot bulldoze the Gigalith or Reparier in the back. So yeah, that's my advice for this matchup. And Rayquaza, good stuff. That has been getting quite popular lately. It's one of the more annoying matchups to deal with as well, because these teams tend to switch out a lot. Fortunately, you got Gothitelle to trap these Pokemon in, so what you can go for, like, if they go Rayquaza plus Amoonguss late, which is one of the more popular leads, just go for the one-shot Amoonguss immediately by helping it max Flutterby. If you see Arcanine, just KO it immediately by helping it max Quake. Yeah, the Rayquaza is going to do a lot of damage, but not enough, because one of these Pokemon take at least one attack from it. That Dragosaur actually can feint to helping in Max Quake, I'm pretty sure as well. So it has to watch out for that. It might get quite scared at one point, and it goes for if it goes for Max Guard at least at one point, you should be able to stall it out pretty easily. Also, Arcanine can go for Will-O-Wisp on it. If you can set up a Gothitelle Trick Room, I would probably suggest you to do it, because most of the matchups in the back, like Dracozolt, Gastrodon. Give me a second about that, Ludibon. I'm going to talk about it immediately. Gastrodon, the Corviknight, or Arcanine just do not deal with Hydro Cannon, Energy Ball, Primarina in the back, so setting up Trick Room might be pretty good. Against Arcanine and Mungus, I would recommend immediately switching out the Primarina, faking out the Mungus so no sports happen. Then you go for Max Starfall plus Psychic, not only to prevent the fast sports from coming out, but also to do massive damage to Mungus. Then you set up Trick Room, go for Max Gazer, set up the Rain, finish off Mungus. Yeah, I would highly recommend just reading through this game plan a bit more, because it's a bit more complicated, but the basic idea is to basically go for a Max Starfall to prevent the sleeps, and then try to KO the Pokemon one by one, especially with Happy and Boost. You can probably KO stuff like Dracozolt in the back as well. Yeah, it's actually pretty smart. The Players Cup 2 International Challenge is going to be actually Series 5. At the start of this stream, I actually proposed to you guys. Well, I can actually do it now. So, guys, I would like to hear from you. This is a Series 6 guide, but because of the International Challenge is going to be Series 5, would you guys like to hear a guide to Series 5 team like Cinera's Hyper Offense? I actually think I made a presentation about it as well before the Series 6 was announced. So would you guys like to hear Series 5 guide next week or not? So just tell me in the chat. Yeah, alright. I'm gonna do that next week, alrighty then. I just thought, because like the competition is gonna be like in a week, so I thought the Series 5 is still a bit outdated now. It's just gonna be one competition, but if you guys would like to see more Series 5 guides, I might do one next week. Alright, alrighty. So I'm probably going to do that one. Anyways, let's just finish off this guide though. So, counteractions. The problem with this, as I've said at the start of this guide as well, is that Durant plus Gothitelle and Primarina plus Gothitelle requires such a vastly different counteractions, to the point you can't counteract both of these leads at the same time if your team has somewhat a weakness to it. So I divided this to counteractions to Durant Gothitelle and Primarina Gothitelle. So one of the most efficient counteractions to Durant Gothitelle is Scarf Chandela. It cannot get taken out, it outspeeds Durant, it one-shotted extremely cleanly with a 1-4 base 1-4-5 special attack Heat Wave. So it's just gonna easily one-shot even the Assault Vest Durant, maybe even after it gets Max Quake Boost if you did not choose to lead with it. So yeah, it's gonna be quite an easy one-shot with the Heat Wave. So yeah, Chandela is your way to deal with this if you're really weak to it. Dynamax Talonflame is very similar to Scarf Chandela because you outspeed Durant and you cannot get taken out. So if you just go for a Max Flare, you're going to be easily able to one-shot the Durant immediately, and you should be able to deal with this. Last advice I can give you is, even if you lead Arcanine and you like, it's such an easy target for Durant to one-shot it, right? It's just like, I'm gonna one-shot it, get a special attack boost, nothing stands in my way, no more intimidates, right? So what I would recommend against this is the Dynamax support Arcanine against the Durant, survive the Max Quake and one-shot back, and opponent might be thrown so much off guard to the point you might be able to win the game on the spot from that moment on. They might have Primarina in the back, but they already setting up Sun, and if you have fairly defensive team, you should have no problem dealing with the Primarina in the back, or even a ferrothorn in the back. So yeah, I would highly recommend like trying to even Dynamax support Arcanine against this if you are at end of your rope. Now for more counteractions to Primarina Gothitelle, Turbo Focus Sash Mungus is one of the most reliable counteractions for it. Unfortunately, a lot of his Primarinas tend to run max speed nowadays, so... or not max speed, but enough speed to outspeed Amoonguss, but not all of them. So Amoonguss with Turbo Focus Sash is still quite a faithful counteraction to it. Yeah, if you can have Pokemon next to Amoonguss that can actually do it, go Primarina or Gothitelle, you should be... like, Amoonguss's magic is not in the fact that it can not only spore the Primarina, but it can volley it out pretty easily as well, because not too many Primarinas carry Ice Beam like mine do. they mostly carry like Hyperos or Protect in the last slot, so you get Rage Power attacks away from possible counteraction to the opponent's Primarina or Gothitelle, and you should still be fine even if opponent fakes up by Max Starfall's turn 1, so yeah, you should be pretty fine still. Ferrothorn is another good counteraction to Primarina. It can counteract even if it Dynamaxes or not Dynamaxes. Power Webs are just so powerful, and if you have, for example, Assault Pest on Ferrothorn, and you got a max like Assault Pest, the Hitvice won't do anything to you, almost nothing. They will do almost nothing to your Ferrothorn. They might, like, Hitvice from Arcanine is gonna be like a free hit KO, and that's more than enough time for you to do enough damage to the opponent. So yeah, this is pretty good counteraction to Primarina. Yeah. Especially like if you have counteraction to Arcanine like Water type Urshifu Rapid Strikes, you should be able to counteract it like Arcanine as well pretty easily. So yeah, Toxtricity plus Taunt for Gothitelle Trick Room is like more specific counteraction, but if you already got Taunt on a team, Toxtricity should be able to deal with Primarina in extremely easy way, especially if you go for Max Usturman, for example. You are able to just boost your special attack, go for G-Max, what's the move? I actually don't remember the G-Max move, but you can go for Max Lightning and just KO the Primarina, Taunt to Gothitelle, no Trick Room happening, no good game plan happening, and even then, yeah, Stun Shock, right. So you're gonna be able to just blow through that team really easily. So that's my advice for you. And with that, that's the end of this guide. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you next Metagame Monday with Series 5 team actually. So I'll catch you later.